everybody. Last year in December, I did a fight of the year video, and then I did a knockout of the year video, and a fighter of the year video, and the worst decision of the year video. That was all for 2016, and I'm gonna leave a copy of those videos at the bottom of this video. I'm not going to do it this year for each category. This year I'll just kind of give my thoughts for most of those. But for fight of the year, there were some candidates. You had the Collazo versus Sammy Vazquez fight, and Collazo, he upset Victor Ortiz a few years ago, and then he had Keith Thurman in trouble a couple of times in their fight in 2015. So he's definitely not a gatekeeper you want to overlook, as Sammy Vazquez found out. But before the knockout occurred, these two lefties went toe-to-toe in 2017. Collazo fought off his back foot for most of the way, and then he got cut badly. And Vazquez saw the blood, and he went in for the kill. And as he went in, he got caught. He got dropped by a right hook that followed a left hand by Collazo. And then a little later in the fight, Collazo decided he wanted to press forward. And so as a result, there were a lot of inside exchanges in this one. Vazquez rocked Collazo hard in the fourth round, and it seemed like his youth was about to take over. And then in the fifth round, boom! Vazquez was coming in, but he came in without any technique, or a sloppy technique, I'll say that, and Collazo kind of backed away and walked him into a right hook to cut his lights out. It was a good fight, and I'll leave the highlights of that fight below. Another good fight was Badou Jack versus James DeGale. So this fight featured the power of the hunter versus the craftiness of the rabbit. And I mean, this fight had it all. It featured bookend knockdowns as DeGale dropped Jack in the first round with kind of like a Pacquiao slide left hand. And I'll leave the video of that below also, so you can see it. And at first look, it looked like he came straight forward, but when you look at the first replay, you'll see that it was Pacquiao-esque. Then in the final round, Jack landed a counter uppercut to a DeGale right hook, and then he dropped James. So you had bookend knockdowns. DeGale got up, and in the final seconds he hurt Jack as they went to the bell, and the crowd just went bananas with the ending of that fight. And as I said, there were bookend knockdowns, but everything in between consisted of it all. An early lead by DeGale, a mid-round rally by Badou Jack, a tooth knocked out, a referee that almost got knocked out. I need to check the punch count because DeGale threw a ton of punches throughout the fight to try to keep Jack off of him. And DeGale also used crafty footwork to try to avoid Badou. On the flip side, Jack decided to hit what he could, and he often caught James coming in and pulling out. It's definitely a fight worth checking out if you missed it. Very exciting, and I'll leave some highlights below. Another candidate was Gennady Golovkin versus Saul Alvarez. And if the super fight overseas was AJ versus Klitschko, then this was the domestic super fight for sure. The most dominant fighter in boxing looked human in his previous fight against a cruiserweight named Danny Jacobs. Man, he was big in that fight. So the old man came in looking for more mainstream success against a superstar. Alvarez has been dominant in his own way since his lone loss in 2013. Hasn't lost again since then. So both guys battled. Each of them got their shots in, and when the final bell rang, we had a draw. Golovkin had moments where he could have gone in to close the show, as Alvarez decided to get on his bike. But Alvarez also stood his ground in the fight, and he displayed a lot of courage. Golovkin had a good 7th round, and he won it on 99.9% of the scorecards. The lone rebel in this case was, you guessed it, Don Trella, coming to your area, causing mass hysteria. Don Trella. I like saying that. I thought it was a clean victory by Golovkin, but the fight was compelling, if not tactical enough for fans to want to see a rematch in 2018. I think both guys will take more chances in the rematch, and you can see the entire fight below. I'll leave it below. Next up was John Molina Jr. versus Ivan Redkach. This fight was crazy. Styles sometimes make good fights, and if these guys fought 10 times, you probably have 10 Fight of the Year candidates. Redkach caught Molina with a right hook off the break in round 2, and it kind of backed him into the ropes. And then he threw a horde of punches. I mean, at least 20 straight punches as he tried to get Molina out of there. As John tried to move off the ropes, Ivan caught him with a big right hook and dropped him. Ivan then, for some reason, went to the ropes and kind of threw his hands up like the fight was over. However, John got up. He took the count. And then Ivan came in throwing everything, including the bathroom sink. And he hurt Molina again. But he couldn't get John. He couldn't get him out before the bell. Molina wobbled back to his corner. Then they kind of did the spilled water and ice trick to buy Molina a little bit of time before the next round. And once they got that cleaned up, Redkach jumped on Molina in the 3rd round and hurt him again with a straight left. It seemed like only a matter of a few more solid punches and the fight would be over. Molina grabbed until the referee broke. A nice left to the body by Redkach as he cautiously stalked Molina. Molina landed a shot behind the head and missed with 2 wild shots. And then Redkach kind of held on to stay out of trouble. As the round progressed, Redkach loaded up on a big right hook. It landed, but not as hard as the simultaneous big right hook that Molina landed. Redkach went down hard. I mean, it was reminiscent of Trinidad versus Vargas or Lemieux versus Stevens, when you had both combatants throwing punches at the same time, and one guy's got there quicker and harder than the other. So Redkach got up and he almost fell forward through the ropes. The referee called timeout to walk to Redkach's corner to get his mouthpiece watched off. Molina came in and threw at least 40 shots to the head and body. Most of them extremely wide, and I think the referee was seeing one shot away from stopping it. Somehow Redkach survived. In the 4th round, Redkach tried to land a big left right hook combo, and Molina countered with a right that hurt Ivan. Another counter right to the body, and he hurt Ivan again. Ivan countered and let Molina know, hey, look, I'm still in the fight, baby. And as they exchanged, Ivan kind of held on because he was on the ropes. The referee broke, and Molina decided to use his jab a few times as he walked in. And that was the key moment of the fight. So Ivan missed with an uppercut. John threw a body shot that hurt Ivan. And as Ivan went back to the ropes, Molina threw a series of right hands to the head, which was punctuated with a left hook to stagger and drop Ivan, and the referee waved it. Now, I thought Ivan had a little bit left in the tank, but the referee stepped in and stopped this 4-round classic as he deemed fit. I would have liked to see Ivan continue, but it's definitely a Fight of the Year candidate. And I left the fight below. Vladimir Klitschko, Anthony Joshua. The heavyweight division is back. It was a fantastic fight. Took place in front of over 90,000 fans. Vladimir Klitschko was going to beat, he was going to beat Tyson Fury in a rematch, and it got canceled. And Fury knew he was going to lose. So Klitschko stepped in and said, I'll fight Joshua. He's looking for an opponent. So in the 5th round of this fight, Joshua came out and he caught Klitschko and dropped him. The old man got up and dominated Joshua for the remainder of the 5th round. It was incredible. And he had Joshua gassed. In the 6th round, the old man found pay dirt as a jab right hand dropped AJ hard to the canvas. Joshua struggled to get up on shaky legs, but somehow he survived the round. Joshua recovered a couple of rounds later, maybe recovering a little too well for my liking. But during the next few rounds, Klitschko missed about 20 left hooks while trying to end AJ's night. And in the 11th, Joshua rushed Vladimir and kind of caught him off guard. He hurt Vlad with the right hand. Vlad held. Joshua rushed in after the break and threw a wild hook that missed, and kind of simultaneously grabbed Vlad's head and threw an uppercut, kind of like Lennox Lewis, Michael Grant style. That shot was big, but what a lot of people don't remember is it didn't drop Klitschko like most people want to believe, but the flurry afterwards did. Old man got up. Joshua threw a nice right hand to drive Klitschko back to the ropes, and then a left, right, left, right, left, right, left, dropped the old man again, with the last right being a hard uppercut and the left hook to the head. The old man got up again, and surprisingly, he looked clear-headed. AJ charged in, missed 2 big right hands, and a left as Vladimir was on the ropes. If you watch the replay in slow motion, the final 6 shots that AJ threw, the only thing that scored was a body shot. The referee thought he saw what he didn't, and I think he owed it to both fighters to let this fight continue. It was the 11th round in a close fight where a young champion was fighting a legend. Nevertheless, it was a good fight. You'll see, in that Russian, German, in that culture, a lot of people, he didn't jump up and down. When you look at sport, as they say, they're not bad sports. So if you watch, Klitschko's telling the official, I'm okay. But it's not jumping up and down, hollering, complaining that the fight shouldn't have been stopped. That's not how they do in different cultures a lot of times. But watch the replay, watch the slow motion, and you'll see a bunch of misses by Joshua, and then the referee jumping in, and I wonder. I just wonder what would have happened had the fight continued. I'll leave a copy of it below. You had the Juan Francisco Estrada versus Carlos Cuadras fight. Last year's Fight Journal Fight of the Year was Francisco Vargas versus Orlando Salido. The year before that, the Fight of the Year was Francisco Vargas versus Takashi Miura. So guess who was almost involved in this year's Fight of the Year? Francisco Vargas. I'll get to that later, but that Juan Francisco Estrada Carlos Cuadras fight was on the Superfly card. That was incredible. And Estrada's like the Juan Manuel Marquez of the Superfly weight class. He's just a counterpuncher. He kind of lets people take the lead, which Cuadras has no problem doing. And then, so Cuadras jumped out to an early lead. Estrada closed strong and beat him. Great fight. Great fight. And with the knockdown of Cuadras being the difference in the fight, it's almost, and Cuadras is lefty. It's kind of like Pacquiao Marquez in the super flyweight division. I'll leave a copy of that below. Francisco Vargas fell just short of making Fighter of the Year for the third straight year. He fought Miguel Berchelt. Here's a fight like unlike most of the rest, had action in every round. I mean, these guys went at it from round one. Vargas threw 1,032 punches. Berchelt threw 947. Vargas landed 330 punches. Berchelt 430. Vargas connected at 32%. Berchelt 45%. Both men fought at a fast pace that seemed to get faster as the rounds went on. Headshots, body shots. The crowd got louder as each round came and went. Vargas was shaken with a Berchelt left hook in round two. In the third, Vargas got cut on his nose. By the fourth, both of his eyes had cuts over them. No, that's no worry. It's business as usual for Vargas, who cuts quite a bit. The wars that Vargas has been in kind of caught up to him, but it took a superhuman effort for Berchelt to take him out, and even then, he needed help from the referee for the fight to stop. He wasn't going to stop Vargas. Vargas, you pretty much have to kill Vargas to get him out of there. Other fights that received consideration, you got Errol Spence Jr. versus Kell Brook. Good fight. Even fight till late. You had David Lemieux versus Curtis Stevens for as long as it lasted. Heavy exchanges. One fight, oh man, Dominic Breazeale versus Ugonoh. Now, I actually like the Breazeale fight more than the AJ versus Klitschko. So, why did I put it in others receiving consideration? I guess because you guys would have attacked me if I rated it higher than AJ versus Klitschko. But listen, I don't just go with things because 90% of the media says so, and I go along with the ride. In 90% of the polls, the winner is going to be AJ versus Klitschko. I get that. Why didn't I pick it? Because rounds 1 through 4 didn't have a lot of action. Nobody talks about rounds 1 through 4 of AJ versus Klitschko. The 5th, 6th, and 11th rounds were the action rounds. And there were some moments in other rounds, but out of 11 rounds, only 3 had real action. Now watch the highlights of the Breazeale versus Ugonoh or any of the other fights on this list. You don't have to watch the full fights, just the highlights. And many of those fights were better than AJ versus Vlad. But I understand why most people picked it. I get it. They went back in the day, as the heavyweight division went, so did boxing. So as soon as we get a decent heavyweight fight with skilled guys, Everybody and their mother wants to make it fight of the year. Well, I'm not buying it. The Fight Journal's 2017 fight of the year is Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez versus Vazquez Vangek or Sarasaketsor Rungvisai won the first fight. I thought Chocolatito won a clear decision despite all of his bloodshed. This fight came on right before Golovkin versus Jacobs, and I was there live. But by the time G and Jacobs entered the ring, it was covered in blood. Chocolatito got dropped by a clash of heads early on, but it was ruled a punch. Steve, what you talking about, Willis, he missed the call. And Chocolatito was busted open by headbutts throughout the fight, and at the fight's end, he was drenched. Gonzalez started out shaky, and Rungvisai took an early lead. But in the middle rounds, you got to watch the middle rounds of this fight, Gonzalez started to take over. I mean, he landed the harder shots in the fight and should have been declared the winner. Now, I haven't ever seen Gonzalez in a bad fight, and this surely wasn't one. Rungvisai came with this awkward lefty style and this bully mentality. And as he charged in, he butted Chocolatito again, causing a bad cut over Roman's right eye. That cut seemed to wake Roman up, and I'm telling you, he won this fight in the middle rounds, and in my opinion, as he landed some big blows on the much bigger foe. His percentage of landed shots was spectacular. Rungvisai threw 940 punches. Roman Gonzalez threw 1,013 punches. Okay? So he threw a lot more than Rungvisai. Rungvisai landed 284 punches. Roman Gonzalez landed 441 punches. So he landed much more. But when you throw that many more and land that many more, and here's the key. Rungvisai landed at 30%, while Chocolatito landed at 44%. There's no way as your punch output goes up that your percentage doesn't come down. Yet he landed 44% of his shots, which is incredible. Yet they gave the fight to Rungvisai. This was my fight of the year because of the volume by both guys. It was a brutal fight and definitely one you want to watch if you missed it. I'll leave some of the highlights below. Finally, one fight that almost everybody's poll that I saw seemed to leave off their poll, and maybe I need to watch it on television. I watched it live and it looked like a fight of the year candidate when I watched it live. One fight a lot of people left off their list was Jarrett Hurd versus Austin Trout. I thought that fight was fantastic watching it live, and I'm shocked that it wasn't on any of the lists. Once again, sustained action, multiple rounds, not just the 5th, the 6th, and the 11th, and maybe the 10th, like AJ versus Klitschko, but just action in every round. And that's why I didn't make AJ versus... I'm not mad at anyone for half the world for making it their best, but it's not on my list as the best. Fight of the year. I slightly favor Vasily Lomachenko over Terrence Crawford for fight of the year. Crawford won twice, once over Felix Diaz, and then he became undisputed super lightweight or junior welterweight champion after beating Julius Ndongo. That's a great accomplishment, but it's not exactly the toughest two fighters out there. He fought twice. But what Vasily Lomachenko did this year was unheard of. Let me go back to his past 8 fights. It goes like this: knockout, 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 Opponent quit, opponent quit, opponent quit, opponent quit. And prior to those 8 fights, he fought a guy who had 51 wins and 1 loss with something like 34 knockouts. And he dropped him once, too. So, but Lomachenko's 2017, though, was fantastic, where he fought former world champion Jason Sosa, then world title challenger Miguel Mariaga, and then pound-for-pound fighter and world champion Guillermo Rigondeaux. His 2017 blew me away. It was the way in which he beat these guys. I mean, Lomachenko ain't exactly Mike Tyson, but he made all 3 of these guys quit. And I've never seen anything like it. The old saying goes, a guy would rather get knocked out than embarrassed. I mean, remember Roberto Duran and how he kind of walked away? A lot of that had to do with a weight issue, but Duran wasn't going to allow himself to be embarrassed. He'd rather just, look, knock me out, but I'm not going to stand here and let you embarrass me. So most guys will just say, knock me out. But that's what makes Lomachenko, because he's not a knockout guy, what he does is he embarrasses you first, and then he knocks you out. Or as in 2017, makes you quit. I've never seen a guy who wasn't a straight-up knockout guy do this to multiple world-class guys. So he's my he's my fighter of the year. Knockout of the year. You had quite a few good ones. I'm not going to go a lot. Emmanuel Aleem got, oh my gosh, he got aired out, and also you had Curtis Stevens. My gosh. Stopped by David Lemieux, where it was boy. Anyway, you had Tete. That's my knockout of the year because you had Mikey Garcia versus Zlatikanen. That was pinpoint counter shot, got you out of position, pivoted, did a pivot, got my feet in proper position, and just blasted you out of here. That was crazy, man. That was crazy. But with Tete, and I'll leave that below. It was you had the David Benavidez, Porky Medina thing also. That was cold-blooded. Joshua Greer Jr. versus James Smith. Oh my gosh. Make sure you check that one out. That he had the little don't blink and night pillow. He had night on one side and don't blink, I think, on the other. And man, yeah, he knocked my man out clean. But Zolani Tete, the gone in 11 seconds. He knocked. Now you notice they say fastest knockout in boxing history, and then some people say title shot. Now, whether it was title shot or not, if it was the fastest, if you go back to watch James Thunder's knockout, Jimmy Thunder, some people call him Jimmy, some people call him James, his knockout happened much quicker. The difference is the referee Jimmy Thunder fight kept counting. So as he kept counting, that extended the amount of time. But if you watch the Jimmy Thunder knockout, he I think the guy's name was Crawford Grimsley. So watch James Thunder versus Crawford Grimsley. I'm not gonna leave all this stuff below. Just write it down and check it out. I'm not gonna look for all these videos, but Tete's knockout came after a little posing, and then boom. Thunder, it was both, the bell rang, both guys came toward each other, boom, and the dude was out. But because the referee counted, it went longer. And I don't know what the official time for the Jimmy Thunder knockout was, but man, that one was quicker. Robbery of the year. I mean, I thought Golovkin got robbed, to be honest. A lot of people think that Carson Jones got robbed once again in his career when he fought Antonio Margarito. Robbery of the year, I didn't pay much attention to. However, indirectly, I thought the Robert Easter Jr. fight with Shavikov could have went either way. So you're saying, well, how can a fight be a robbery if it could have gone either way? Well, here's the thing. One judge, Carlos Ortiz Jr., had it 116-112 for Easter. That's bad enough. That's 8 rounds to 4. If a fight can go either way, and you saying one guy won 8 and the other guy won 4, well, I got a problem. That was bad enough. But judges Jamie Garaya and Eugene Grant, remember those names, we'll add them to our list, scored the fight 120-108, which was preposterous. Have you ever heard of these judges? The fight was in Ohio. Easter's from Ohio. The absurd scoring came on the night when Robert Easter Jr. got some home cooking for sure. So like I said, remember those names. Jamie or Jaime, it's Jamie, last name Garayua. Okay, Carlos Ortiz Jr. Maybe we'll give Carlos a pass. And Eugene Grant. So Jamie and Eugene had it 120-108. So you add those names to the list, along with Adelaide Bird and Don Trella coming to your area, causing mass hysteria. Don Trella. I'm sorry. I like saying that. You got to keep an eye on the judges and remember them from a historical standpoint, because as we see with Adelaide Bird, who came back in record time, they're going to be still working. 2017 was the year of retirees. Let's look at it. Floyd Mayweather Jr., Vladimir Klitschko, Andrei Ward, Timothy Bradley Jr., Juan Manuel Marquez, Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, James Toney, Orlando Salido. Salido came back. Jean Pascal, Takashi Uchiyama, Takashi Miura, Robert Guerrero, Rakim Chakiev, Derry Matthews, Kazuto Ioka, Nathan Cleverly, and the Cornflake, Thomas Lamanna. Cornflake came back also. I look for Ward to be back. I look for Mayweather to be back. Possibly Cotto. Long shot Pascal and James Toney. But those were the retirees this year. We also had some YouTube retirees. The Fact King, 978 Diplomatics, 34. Fact King, 978 Diplomats, 34. Maybe I should say it that way. Retired. Precise Presenter, retired. I think he might have came back though. Thunderdome Boxing Talk. He kind of worked his way back. My man Faraz at Strictly Boxing News. These were some YouTube retirees. What's my man name? Brendan at True School Sports. He retired. Then he kind of came back late in the year. So, also made some friends on YouTube. My man Victor Atkinson. Check him out at Split D Boxing and the Loaded Gloves podcast. YouTube friends. Abia. That's Aeabiaa. Bia. That's my dude. CMD Boxing Reports. Billy C and Sal. DPG Uncut TV. Javon Davis. Maxwell Bear. To name a few. And my main man, Duke Odin 7458. Make sure you check out his channel. And Duke, thank you for the shout out for your end of the year video. Duke Odin 7458. Check him out. And when he makes his predictions, get his take on his videos. And so make sure you subscribe. We had some deaths in 2017. Jake LaMotta, Sugar Ramos, Lou Duva, David Bay, Marlon B. Wright, Doug Jones, who did beat Muhammad Ali in their fight. As ugly as it was, I thought Doug Jones won that fight. Dick Enberg, longtime sports guy. The Fight Doctor, Ferdy Pacheco. Rafael Garcia, Cutman. Angel Espinoza. So these are people who left us in the physical this year. Let's talk about some memorable moments from 2017 and then what we can look forward to in 2018. So, memorable moments. ESPN made the commitment to boxing. Big commitment. Alexander Povetkin's next fight. Here's something I remember. I mean, Alexander Povetkin's last fight. He fought a guy, and within the first minute of round one, Povetkin hit him, and the guy's neck kind of bent to the side. And I've never seen this before, so he kind of called. He didn't want to fight. He kind of called for time, and the referee called time, and the guys in his corner came and massaged his neck for like 10 minutes while Povetkin stood in the corner. I've never seen anything like this. It's like, look, man, either you're going to fight or you're going to quit. I mean, they massaged the guy's neck. I swear, man. This one I might leave below, and if I forget, just look up Alexander Povetkin's last fight. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get through this without laughing. I mean, they're rubbing the guy's neck for like 10 minutes, man. I mean, the fans are kind of whistle, like they don't boo in a lot of other countries. They whistle. That's their version of booing, and they like, yo, what the heck is going on here, man? You got to check it. I've never seen anything like that. Another thing I remember is speaking of Povetkin, Alexander Povetkin and Louis Ortiz failed drug tests, and then all of a sudden, right after the Vern fight, now Ortiz is cleared to fight. All of a sudden, Povetkin can fight. I mean, it just makes you wonder. Another thing from 2017, the teddy bear, Teddy Atlas, gets suspended again by ESPN. I think it was a mistake by ESPN. If Teddy Atlas has a big ego, then ESPN has a bigger one. Listen, he put a non-boxing guy in his place, and rightfully so. He was like, "Look, dude, you're a writer. You didn't box. You're not a boxing guy. So I'm telling you what I'm telling you. Look, man, I didn't have a problem with what Atlas did. I think it's a mistake. Maybe Teddy will work his way back into the good graces." Another memory was Badu Jack versus James DeGale. It was a war. However, the best punch of the night came at the end of the 5th round when Arthur McCanty Jr., the referee, caught a left hook from Badu Jack right as the bell sounded. And it wobbled him, man. Badu kind of helped him stay up, and McCanty's like, "Get off me." I'm like, "Nah, bro, you'd have went down." Check that out. Another thing, Carl Frampton failed to make weight again, but that didn't stop his supposed fight that he was supposed to have earlier in 2017. His opponent, Andres Gutierrez, prior to the fight, he fell in the shower, and his nose, his teeth, and his chin all got jacked up. I mean, weird, man. Just weird. Check it out. Another thing I remember is Adelaide Bird was allowed to judge. Listen, a 118-110 card in the Golovkin versus Alvarez fight means one of two things. Either she's past it and needs to retire, or she's a corrupt judge. There's no other explanation. All of that night off, she had a night off excuse crap, can't be used for Golovkin versus Alvarez when she's had many other off nights before, and at least one afterwards. Give me a break. Another thing from 2017 is Amir Khan's pregnant wife. Amir accused his wife of sleeping around with Anthony Joshua. He says, "Hey, baby, I found the tweets you and Anthony were sending back and forth." It turned out to be false, but I'm sure Khan was wondering all the way up until he was born, or she was born, how that baby was going to look when it came out. Well, Amir, you are the father. Another thing, how about Steven Smith's ear in his fight with Francisco Vargas? First, it was kind of bent outwardly, which looked weird. You got to see it. His ear just kind of bent. Then later in the fight, it split in half, maybe like a little over a quarter of the way down. It was grotesque. Never seen anything like it. The Mike Tyson bite on Holyfield's ear doesn't even come close. And this wasn't even a bite. Smith was in good spirits a few days later, so it looks like he'll be okay. Earlier in the year, I went to see Roy Jones Jr. fight in Delaware against bare-knuckle boxing king Bobby Gunn. Roy Jones kind of toyed with Gunn the entire fight, and then he busted up his nose and stopped him. It kind of reminded me of if a prime Roy Jones Jr. fought Bobby Chez. Bobby Chez's arms just always looked too short to kind of be a fighter. And that's exactly how Bobby Gunn looked. Speaking of noses, whatever happened to that Miguel Cotto versus James Kirkland fight? Remember that? That was 2017. Anybody heard from James? What else? How about Billy Joe Saunders' son punching Willie Monroe Jr. in the head? The dickhead, that is. Hey, man. Teach your kids to have some class like Danny Jacobs' kid, man. Maybe if Jacobs and Saunders fight, Jacobs' kid will check Saunders' kid at the weigh-in. Let him know who's boss. I love the World Boxing Super Series this year. Speaking of Billy Joe Saunders, another thing I remember was the Eftandil Kurtzidi drug syndicate undercover stakeout and arrest on RICO charges. Kurtzidi had knocked out Antoine Douglas, and he was like 1 month away from destroying Billy Joe Saunders and becoming the new WBO World Middleweight Champion, and then he got busted on RICO charges, man. Some drug syndicate type thing. So I got to check and see how that case is going, but crazy, man. Crazy. Let me close out by saying there's some fights we can look forward to in 2018. All of them haven't been made, but some are currently in talks. Jared Hurd versus Erlandly Lara. Dimitri Bivol versus Sullivan Barrera. That one's already made. Danny Garcia, Brandon Rios. That's done. Adrian Broner, Omar Figueroa Jr. That's in talks. Keith Thurman Jr. versus Jesse Vargas. That's in talks. And I'm going to everybody that's a junior. Timothy Bradley Jr., Omar Figueroa Jr., Keith Thurman Jr., Chris Eubank Jr., everybody that's a junior, I'm calling them junior. Floyd Mayweather Jr., that's how it's going to be. We got the Groves versus Eubank Jr., that's done. The Jackal versus Nito. So we got Carl Frampton versus Nonito down there. That's done. Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker. That's close. Badu Jack versus Adonis Stevenson. Close. G versus Nello. 2. We think it's going to happen. Deontay Wilder, Louis Ortiz. Errol Spence Jr. Lamont Peterson. There's another junior for you. And in a week after Spence Jr. versus Peterson, we got the Alexander Usyk versus Marius Bradis fight. Definitely looking forward to that. You got to watch it. And my most anticipated fight is Dorticos versus Gassiev. Or Dorticos versus Gassiev. And speaking of Trainer of the Year, I'm going to give that a tie between Derek James, who has Jermel Charlo and Errol Spence Jr. And I'm going to go with Anatoly Lomachenko. He has his son, Vasily. And he also has Gassiev. So, both of them. I'm sorry. Not Gassiev. I got that wrong. He also has Alexander Usyk, who is the #1 rated in the cruiserweight tournament. So I couldn't, even though Spence only fought once in 2017, he did capture a title. And Usyk is just, he's a beast. And we know that Loma's a beast, and we know that Charlo's a beast. So I'm going to give it to Anatoly Lomachenko and Derek James, co-trainers of the year. We'll catch you in the next one.